Hello, dear starshines. Christina here with Rise of the Multidimensional Human and the Lightbody Academy. Welcome to today's lunchtime chats. For those of you who are new, my name is Christina. I am the acceleration expert, and we are here to discuss topics and issues that are significant for us way showers, intuitives, empaths who are navigating this chaotic world. So I do my best to provide a liberated perspective on those topics and issues that give us those challenges every day. So welcome, welcome, welcome. If you want to be part of the cultivation of the kinds of topics we talk about in these conversations, I invite you to check out, if you're on Facebook, invite you to check out Rise of the Multidimensional Human. This is our community of empaths and intuitives. It's a community like no other. We have a very high standard of behavior and interaction compared to other, social groups, private groups that are on social media. So do know that it's a safe place to come, and you can talk about absolutely everything and anything that is significant to your journey on this planet right now. So I invite you guys to check that out. I'm going to give everybody a minute to come on board. Hello, darling soul schooling. Hello, Kitty. Good to see you. So we'll just pause and let the folks join in. As you come in, say hi. Let me know you're here. Let us know where you're from. There's two ways to watch this stream. You can watch this stream on that Rise of the Multidimensional Human Facebook group, or you can watch this stream live on our YouTube channel, which is Lightbody Academy. And on that channel, we have cataloged many hours of videos of useful content and information for way showers and intuitives like you. So I encourage you to check that out if you feel so drawn. Thank you, everybody, for participating in the conversation that we have going on today. I really loved listening to all of the, reading all of the questions and comments and sharings. That was really insightful for me. And I'm happy to just, it was so difficult really to pick out the topics. But what I started to notice as I was going through the thread, that there were some common themes in each of the inquiries. So those common themes are what I ended up, consolidating into the topics for today. So please let me know if the sound is good and the picture is good. I know it's been a little rocky lately with all the travels that we've been doing. The internet has not been the best. So I'm just going to check in. Hello, darling starshines. Hello, Dale. Hello, Hodai. Hi, Nancy. Good morning. All right, so we have people from all over the place joining us. So the topics for today are, this is what I was able to cultivate from all the input from you guys. Where is the line between standing up for your truth and stepping into the disempowerment game? And this question was asked in many different forms, and so I'm going to try to just address it specifically and generally at the same time. See if I succeed in that. Let me know. And then we'll be talking about the 4D polarity games. Who wins? And this is speaking more to the power over dynamics, the agenda, the cabal agenda, whatever you want to call that. There's lots of different names that it goes by, and there's lots of different narratives and shoot-offs of that narrative. So I'm going to talk about it in generally as a 4D polarity game, but also specifically to who wins. You might be surprised by my response. All right, and then third is unconditional acceptance and getting past blind spots. So in the Academy, we work in many different spectrums with energy medicine, and recently we restarted some of the dark force training, which is empowerment, working with unraveling dark force entanglements. These are power over dynamics that exist in the energetic and interdimensional interference and beyond, like this. So some of the tools that we have as personal resources within us first have to be known before you can go into those realms and be effective at cleaning them up. And one of the great gifts that recently came forward was the experience of acceptance in relationship to getting past blind spots. So a blind spot is when you can't see something for truly what it is. You only can see it for the relationship you have with it. Okay, so if you have a relationship that's very toxic with a particular kind of energy, when I say toxic, I mean you have trauma dramas around it. It triggers your nervous system. You go into fight or flight, maybe some PTSD, and you're all triggered. And when in that triggered state, you're very narrow in your focus, and all you can really see is what you're feeling here when you're engaged with that kind of energy. Now, so that is a blind spot because you cannot see the energy for more than that particular kind of experience. So blind spots are really powerful, and blind spots are exactly why humanity is effectively under this mass hypnosis that's going on right now. Actually, I think it's insanity, but it is like a hypnosis because it engages all those pieces I just talked about: the trauma, the drama, the fear, the nervous system response. It's like all these pieces get engaged to narrow our focus so we are, blind to the bigger picture of what's really going on. So I'm excited to get into that. So let's see, is everybody here? Okay, people are kind of slow coming on. That's all right. I'll just chill out for a minute. Hello, hello. Yep, picture's good, all good. Thank you guys for sharing 5x5. All right. So I'm going to use a few different models today in our activation. So we have our usual one when I'm talking about the nesting dolls. Let me see if this color comes up. Does this color come up for you guys? Okay, a little bit. That's all right. It's not going to hang out here. So when I'm talking about these nesting dolls and I put the circles inside of the circles, I want you to expand the perception into spheres. These are spheres that are full of a kind of consciousness. Okay, so this outer sphere is the galactic mind. This outer sphere is the galactic consciousness. All right, and it's a sphere. It has dimensions to it, and inside it's full of consciousness like this. And then that next nesting doll. Let's see if this color will work. And that next nesting doll is this, the all that is consciousness. And this is also a sphere. It's something that we are all enveloped inside of. So, okay, so the outer nesting doll is the galactic plane, the consciousness of the Milky Way galaxy. Some may call that the Great Mother. Okay, and then within that is the all that is, what many of us might refer to as God. And they are so the realm of isness, the realm of God, so to speak, is permeated with the consciousness of the Great Mother. Okay, it's permeated. And then everything, the next nesting doll inside of that is permeated with the isness, the Mother of God, the isness, and then from that isness and the Mother, that pool, that sphere of those of the Mother of God and the isness together, we emerge out as an experience of separation, which is that soul song, which is the tone that is your essence, let's call that. Okay? And this is, again, a sphere that's absolutely full of consciousness. Within that sphere of the soul of who you are is that permeated field of the galactic, that permeated field of the all that is, and then there's that individuation that is permeating within that. Okay? It's the 7D field. The realm of frequency. The realm of frequency in the sense as differentiated from the previous two nesting dolls. Okay, and then from frequency, so now you are the all that is Mother, the all that is, and frequency, all permeating together. All of that consciousness is swirling together, moving. And then it needs another layer of structure, another layer of order. And that next layer of order is the light body. Okay? I'm not sure if that shows up so well. Yeah, it does a little bit. Let's see. I'm going to try to I'll use a different color. Here we go, light body. I'm going to make it more red. And that light body is the next organizing force of this energy. And this light body is a sphere, right? A sphere of consciousness. It's also a map. And you can say that map is where all these different levels of consciousness come together and make an agreement about something, about how to manifest something, right? And then so this structure with all these different lines and how they interact is your map, the map of your unfoldment throughout the Milky Way galaxy. Now you can add things to this and you can take things away. But ultimately this map has within it all the experiences you're going to have in your soul's journey. All the different lifetimes, all the different species, all the different dimensions, so on and so forth, is all within this sphere. And this sphere, remember, is permeated by the previous spheres of consciousness. So it's many different layers all swimming together in the same fish bowl, so to speak. And then we have our actual soul's journey. Our actual soul's journey. This is where time starts to get interwoven into these spheres that are permeating, okay? These spheres of consciousness that are permeating within each other, through each other, around each other. And now the next organizing force is time. Now, it's not linear time. It's a cyclical time, okay? It's the soul's journey where we are going in a cycle, okay? And that cycle can be circular, but there's also teachings where those cycles go like this in an infinity or a sideways figure eight kind of shape, okay? For example, the yugas. The yugas are outlined as traveling like this, and this is that endless journey that we're on as a soul's journey goes. So this, we're going to make these, let's see, we'll make these lines vertical. And all the different crossing points, you can imagine different kinds of lifetimes, different kinds of experiences that are organized by that light body. So you shift something in the light body, you shift something within the soul's journey, which means your Akasha changes. The kinds of energies and recordings that are within the Akasha change. Okay. And then we get into the very, very human realm. Let's see if this will work. And that is the 4D field, the idea of collective resonance. Okay, and this I'm going to make it like a swirl, because that's kind of what it is right now, right? It's just so whirling. And this collective field right here is on a solar level, solar ring level, but it's also on a planetary level. It's on a very specific location to you level. It's very specific to your family level, very specific to your physical body level, right down to the cells. This field permeates around your cells. There's been a great body of work done by a researcher named Bruce Lipton, who talked about the biology of belief. Okay, so invisible belief systems. So okay, how's that? Let me know if the sound is back. And the power's good. Thank you. Okay. Joanne is also mentioning something about Caroline, this work. Okay, please let me know if the sound is back. Good. Okay, sound is back. Thank you. Not really sure what happened there, but we'll just keep moving on. So we have that collective field and the research done by way showers that have come before us around the biology of belief and how our belief systems affect our health, our well-being, and the actual functioning of the cell, which takes away from the original science. The science that we had before that was saying that everything that your cell does is dictated by the DNA. And that's actually the DNA and the RNA, and according to this way of looking at biology, that turns that whole concept on its head. It really has to do with your belief system, and your beliefs and your feelings and the vibration that you live at is what tells what segments of your DNA to replicate and what segments of your DNA to let rest and go dormant. Okay, so this is something important for us to keep in mind. Hello, 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 darlings. Okay, so we have our collective field, our 4D field. Oh, the other thing I need to say about this field, it's highly polarized. As soon as these frequencies start coming into this particular nesting doll, okay, into this sphere, all these frequencies, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers of nesting doll of consciousness, become polarized, which means they become split into negative, positive, male, female, black, white, good, evil, left, right, up, down, stuff like this. So that means this wholeness of frequency becomes a split character right here. So that means the all that is becomes, when it hits this 4D field, it becomes split, and it becomes a story of good and evil. You see? Okay. So this is an important thing to keep in mind, because the whole polarity game, the game of opposites as being against each other, or not birds of the same feather, or birds of the same, whatever, you know what I'm talking about, not being the two sides of the same coin. We lose sight of that, and and that is part of the control system that keeps us blinded to things. As soon as we recognize that we want one polarity and not the other polarity, and we put energy into vanquishing or exiting, making it wrong and gone out of our lives, we pay the price for that, because that positive part of the polarity that we favor cannot exist without that other side being so. Why? Is because when you get past this one nesting doll of beingness, it's all one force, it's all one flow, it's part of the same sphere. So it's it's really to our disadvantage to make an enemy out of anything. If anything, the programs that have been given humanity is all about the enemy, making an enemy, turning it against you. They're different than you are, therefore they're going to judge you, therefore protect yourself. You know what I mean? There's all these programs that are getting played, and our true nature as humans, our true nature as a open-hearted being that is somewhere where they belong, which is in nature, a part of nature. Our natural ability is to embrace the diversity and harmonize the diversity, where we all can function as one in harmony, just like nature. If you go out into the forest, you don't have the oak trees ridiculing the pine trees. You know what I mean? You don't have one plant ridiculing another plant. All these plants are just doing their nature. And of course, some plants will take over others, like invasive species like this, but it's not a battle. It's not a, it's more about the health and the vibrancy, and one particular life form having its space to live and exist. And that becomes very entangled the deeper you get into nature, where everything is entangled together, and you can't even see through the entanglement because it's all bound up together. It all becomes one unit, one force. And so sure, there's predator and prey, there are dances like that, but there's a thought out there that even that kind of dance is a result of the blindness of humanity. These collective fields of these animals and nature spirits are affected by the fall of our own consciousness, the divide in our own consciousness, okay? So our true nature truly is an inclusive nature, truly is one that embraces the diversity, because in the embracing of the diversity, we become stronger, we become more resilient as a whole. So this polarity program, you can see how it's really been used against us to keep us split and fighting against each other and wasting our energy. And as we waste that energy, of course, there's energy feeders to come and feed off of it. And really, this world now is everybody is a slave to that. You know, pretty much everybody. I'm just going to leave that general statement like that. All right, and then within that 4D field of the collective, you remember the 4D field is invisible. You can't see it with your eyes, but you can definitely feel it with your senses. You can feel it with your emotion. You can feel it with your tactile senses. Some of us in our bodies, some of us smell energies, you know, or taste energies. So our biosuit has the capacity to feel and sense and have an engagement with these energies. It's just we believe that we can't, therefore we don't. That's what that looks like. Once we recognize that a smell isn't just a smell, or goosebumps on our arm is not just goosebumps. The change in temperature around us is not just a change of pressure, weather, right? It's actually different things happening that potentially are in this particular nesting doll of our reality. All right, and then we have the 3D reality. I'm going to make that all color too. Beautiful blue ball. Which space? Yeah, this is getting small, I know. That's the idea of separation. Our biosuit keeps us separate from our environment around us. So my biosuit seems like it's different than this tree, but I can actually resonate and vibrate in harmony with this tree. And then once I do that, there's no separation anymore. We are together in as one harmonic organism. So the 3D gives us this exquisite opportunity to have the sense of separation. And then we have the 2D in the center of that, and the core of the earth, the here and now presence that is offered to us by the consciousness of the earth. So the Pachamama is the grand dreamer. We are literally in the realm of the mother. Pachamama, realm of the mother, mama, right? So we are unfolding ourselves within her dream. We are unfolding ourselves within her stadium, so to speak, for us to dream our dream within this dream. Okay, when I say dream our dream, I'm not just saying, live the American dream. I don't mean that. Really, it's American nightmare. But that is to tap into all the capacities that you are and pull through these layers what it is you truly want. As a master creator, you get to decide what is it that you want to experience, what is it that you want to enjoy, or what is it that you want to suffer from. Okay, so on a soul level, when we make certain plans and agreements, it doesn't register that we could be making a plan that is creating major drama in the physical body. We're very disconnected from that. It's a much bigger picture. But when we're in our physical bodies, the drama really is the star of the show, and that makes us forget that there's these other layers going on. There's these other layers happening. And it's not that God's punishing you or that you're, have bad karma, because even that's a program. It's that, there's something your soul's trying to work out. It's trying to allow some kind of energy to come full circle so an entanglement can be freed. So a lot of us who work with the Akasha have gotten a lot out of going into the Akasha and resolving those entanglements. And when we do that, that life force gets freed up, and we have more life force in the here and now because of it. And we don't need to repeat that particular construct. We don't need to repeat that particular drama anymore, because we've allowed it to come full circle. And we've done that on the Akashic level, right? Without having to play it out on the 3D stage. All right. So, the big thing here, nesting dolls that are, imagine them as spheres, and everything is permeating within each other. And there are realms that are very pure of consciousness, and there's realms where there's a lot of overlap going on. The inner nesting dolls are the most overlapped. Many layers of dimensions and realities nestled to, are permeating, unfolding together. So yeah, so that's all I need to say about that. And then we're going to go into that 4D polarity game, because this is where we're going to start talking about the disempowerment constructs. All right, so some of the questions that were specific questions that were asked were around, how do you know when you're standing in your truth, and there's a lot of challenge in standing in your truth? How do you know that it's actually something that's really meant for you to do, versus stepping into a disempowerment program? Or some have expressed it in the sense of, how do you have healthy boundaries when you're trying to help somebody, but it's a really toxic situation for you? Where's the balancing act? Okay, stuff like that. So I'm going to dive into this polarity game and the disempowerment, and what disempowerment looks like, so we can make have better discernment around this, because being human is very, very messy. There's lots of energy exchanges. Some people are really sloppy with their energies. Some are very closed off with their energies. And then there's a whole spectrum in between that, right? So when we are in a lot of pain, people who experience a lot of pain become very grabby in their energy, because they don't know what to do about the pain, and they're just in this they're just enduring a consistent state of suffering. Okay, and when people are going through like that, it's very easy to lose yourself to pain. It's very easy to lose yourself to to the intensity of what's happening, and then PTSD sets in, and then it becomes something that you relive over and over again, even though the actual event has passed. So this is a really prolific problem right now, because that's how people are getting controlled right now. They're they hear something, they say yeah, and then because that one part got voiced, then they're willing to take the rest of the program, and that's game that's specifically done to get people to do things they normally wouldn't do. All right. Or that are actually truly against their character, and they don't even recognize what they're doing is against their character. Okay. So here we are. This is the core of the earth. This is the 1D. This is the telluric realm. This is everything between the core and the crust of the planet. This is also your human body. So in the very core of your being, you are in perfect resonance with the mother. All right, you're in perfect resonant harmony with the Pachamama. That is where those energies have come together. Your soul and the soul of the mother have come together and said yes to unifying. And you guys are, that frequency, unification frequency, is alive within your physical body. And then you have lots of layers of layers and layers and layers of atoms and molecules, which make cells, which makes tissues, makes organs, and makes systems nested together to create this biosuit. Well, it's the exact same thing with everything that's under the crust of the earth. There's many layers and layers and layers of systems and realms of existence that are operating together within the crust of the earth. There's a lot of interdimensional activity. There's lore about entire cities like Agartha, or there's the story of there's an ocean and a sun even within the inner earth. If you go into more indigenous lore, they talk a lot about the underworlds, and the underworlds are places where, well, there's lots of things that happen within underworlds, but one of the many things that can happen in the underworld is exploration of what has been lost and forgotten. So you can actually go into the underworld experience, and yes, there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of heaviness and hucha, but it's also a profound opportunity for healing and retrieving something that you've once lost, some piece of you. So there's a lot that goes on within this telluric realm. It's we also can say that the telluric realm is part of our subconscious or unconscious mind. All right, and then we have that 3D space. Okay, sun rises and sun sets, right? All right, sun rises and sun sets. And then we also have this canopy, which is that 4D canopy. If you want to know more about this model, by the way, there's a woman that I studied with for a while that every year she would do an activation weekend in Lilydale, New York for between 99 and 2012. I was there for 10 of those years, and her name's Barbara Hand-Clow, and she has an amazing body of work. I mean, there's not a single book that she's written that I think is bad. It's like, because she's very insightful. She's taken to writing fiction recently, and she just released a third book in a trilogy that was meant to activate human consciousness. But this particular model came from her. She awoke to another aspect of her that was incarnated simultaneously in the Pleiades. And her name in that star system and on that planet is called, her name was Satya. So she actually downloaded a new cosmology from her own self from the Pleiades galaxy, and masticated it and digested it through her biosuit, her consciousness, and the mental emotional fields, and then brought it to others. So this work originally, when it first came to this planet and was being introduced to other people, it was so profound, energetically, it was so profound that people would actually lose consciousness in the process of being shown and having this information discussed with them. Okay, we would like fall out of our chairs. All right, back. All right, are we back? Yeah, I know. This is. Has anyone else lost audio? Yeah, everybody's lost audio. Is it back? Hopefully it comes back. I got a beep. Okay, I got that. Okay. So this particular model, like I said, you can check out her work. There's two particular pieces of work that this model comes from, and that is Alchemy of the Nine Dimensions and the Pleiadian Agenda. By the way, have you guys seen that video that I posted in the group of her in her interview with Regina Meredith? Oh my gosh, it was so funny because every time I watched it, it was like I was watching Barbara's forehead. Her head got bigger and bigger and bigger until she totally looked like an ET. It was like she's totally, like, really in her Pleiadian essence, and her head started going oblong. I don't know, it was really cool. So I was watching this activation happen while she was talking about her perception of the astrology. It was super cool. Anyway, check that video out if you get a chance. Okay. And then the other thing I want to draw is the disempowerment triangle. There we go. So this canopy, this is that 4D canopy that polarizes everything. These are the higher dimensional frequencies of those nesting dolls coming in and reaching this sphere. Okay? So those nesting dolls come through, hit this field, and instantly become polarized. Oftentimes becomes reversed and then polarized. So first the polarization happens, and then the more that happens, that sets the stage for life force, for life codes from those outer nesting dolls to become reversed. So this is where we talk about the great reversal. I've talked about that in other chats. I really can't dive into it now and get these topics, but just understand that what's so confusing about a lot of this that's going on is that our true nature has been twisted and reversed and given to us, the teachings. Like, for example, forgiveness. Forgiveness is a superpower when you wield it as a master, but we are taught to forgiveness in a way that perpetuates the disempowerment program, the victim program, right? And the same thing with acceptance. Acceptance is actually a profound tool when wielded by a master, but we also are taught acceptance in a way that it's a disempowerment. It's actually used to force people to accept mediocrity rather than what it is they truly want. So So these life codes that are true to our nature get reversed and handed to us in a way that's backwards. It's backwards. And this is why we get so confused. Okay, cool. We're back. Wonderful. All right. So let me, so everything comes through and gets polarized. This field right here has lots of interference within it. So not only do we have the polarization and the reversal going on, we have AI technology happening. And there's AI that is current technology that's in the human sphere of intelligence and creativity and implication. And then there's a much more ancient AI that has influence within this field, and some of those other fields too. But primarily, we want to focus on this one because this is the one that we can totally step out of. This is the one that most of our blind spots are in. As soon as we step past this field, figure out what the secrets are for us to get past this field, we really transcend a lot of the blindness that gets imposed on humanity. So there's AI intelligence in here too. The whole particular programs together, ideas together, and a lot of those ideas that they're most damaging is the ones around religion, around our relationship to creation, our relationship to nature, stuff like this. All right, so let me get to the disempowerment program, and you guys are going to see what I mean. Let me move this over. All right, so disempowerment triangle. What this triangle represents is there are 3 facets to look out for when you are actuating and engaging in this world. If you are stepping into any one of these 3 facets, you are stepping into a disempowerment program where you are not only disempowering yourself, you're disempowering the others that you're working with, and you're losing life force energy. You're actually food at that point. You're either spilling life force energy out and it's going to waste, or you actually have those interdimensional beings feeding on you, and they know exactly how to trigger that, hit that button to get that food. So if you love to help people, we got to ask questions on why we're helping people. Are we because we believe they can't help it themselves? Do we do it because it just makes us feel good, like a better person? Or do we do it because we truly feel a call within us that's part of our humanity calling out to reach out and touch this person? Okay, so this triangle will help us get clearer within ourselves, because no one can tell you. I mean, they'll try to tell you, right? Everybody has an opinion. No one can tell you what's right for you. No one can tell you what is worth your energy and what's not worth your energy. You have to be the one to decide, because quite frankly, there are things that I will find completely in harmony with me and my purpose and I love to do that others would never do. Think that it's like, no way, that's ridiculous. And there's things that other people get involved with that I would never get involved with because it's not in alignment with my core values. You see, so we're all very individual, and that is a great thing. Okay, it's not something to be in conflict over. It's something for us to really observe and appreciate about each other. Okay, so the first point in this disempowerment triangle is stepping in as the victim. Can you see that? Victim. Lots of victim stories going on in this collective field to manipulate people. We have the whole race, the race, one race being victim to the other race. And I'm not just saying white people over people of color, it's vice versa as well. And it's also male against female. It's educated against the uneducated. It's the intellectuals versus those that never have guns, those that just have common sense. It's, you know what I mean? There's victim stories everywhere. You throw a stone, you're going to find 10 of them, right? The victim story that's pretty clear and obvious on why it's disempowerment, is because you don't recognize where your choices are. You don't recognize how to turn that story around so you become stronger within, stuff like this. And the victim story also makes us grabby and needy. We need people to see it. We need people to know, me. It makes us very egocentric, that victim paradigm. Then the other corner, the most obvious one, is the perpetrator, right? I'm just going to put perp. The perpetrator. The perpetrator is the one that makes the victims, right? And as we know, a lot of people who grew up being abused end up becoming abusers. So they started off as a victim and then they became perpetrators. It's because that's what they associate with power and control. Having control of your life and being empowered means you're not the victim, you're the perpetrator. You get to be the boss. You get to, be the one that people are afraid of, stuff like this. The perpetrator is also people who fail one another. This game is played out a lot. It's, when you feel like someone didn't show up for you, or you feel like someone doesn't love you because they didn't do this, or someone, isn't really your friend because they didn't do that. So perpetration could be that kind of game too, people who fail you. So a lot of times we'll get involved in a situation trying to harmonize a victim story, and if that victim doesn't want to stop being a victim, they will quickly make themselves the victim of us trying to help, right? Yeah, so we instantly become the perpetrator. Now, we don't become the perpetrator because we think we perpetrated. We become the perpetrator because the energy starts coming to us, and we're getting slimed with the projection of being a perpetrator. Okay, so a lot of this is out of our control. This is why this knowing, being aware of this triangle is so helpful in maintaining healthy relationships with yourself and others, because you won't step into that triangle for it to be a game in the first place. You'll know better, or you'll figure out a different way to approach with the truth that you feel compelled to express, once you're aware of this piece. And the last piece of this triangle of disempowerment, and this is something that's probably going to surprise a lot of you guys, the last piece of this is being the savior. Okay? Savior, and I'm going to spell it incorrectly, but you guys know what I mean. Savior. That's, you save people because people can't save themselves. And this is, there's entire religions based on this. Someone saved you, someone died for you, all that. And you can see how they are actually disempowering that program, how it disempowers the all that is consciousness that permeates through our field. Because it takes away, we're no longer responsible for our actions, our thoughts, and our words. This guy is over here. Okay, so we instantly become the perpetrator because they spin that story around saying Jesus died for you. You know what I mean? Now you're the perpetrator in that scenario. You see how the game is. So this is a very, very sophisticated game that we're playing, this disempowerment game. It's everywhere. You look into any relationship that you have with anybody, I guarantee that's not harmonious. I guarantee you there's pieces in this. You played all three of these roles within that relationship. So the idea is, how do you stand in your truth and integrity without being one of these roles? Okay, so there's a dilemma that a dear sister Starshine shared with me this morning about working out racial tensions within her community. And so she was misunderstood and by a community. Okay, my mic just keeps going out. Okay, hopefully it's back. Please let me know if it's not back. Okay, so the game. So she ended up now is in a process of working out the tensions that's dividing her community between the different races, and it turns into a race game, but it wasn't like that before. So it's like, how do I stand in my truth and go through this process with these people in my community without becoming a martyr, without stirring up trouble, without becoming disempowered? So this is the piece that we have to look at. When you're coming into a situation and people are automatically think you're a perpetrator, the stage is set to be disempowered, right? But there's something else here, and this is the human spirit. if that person is coming forward with integrity and truth in their heart, if those people, let's say a whole group of people, are coming forward and in the truth of their heart, they want harmony. In the truth in their heart, they want to hold their community together, okay? Even though the front story is one is a perpetrator over the other, if the intention is there to work these pieces out and come into harmony and accept each other within the diversity of things, it will happen. So in this way, you standing up in your truth with conviction and commitment, compassion and understanding, that your human nature will harmonize. Your guys' human nature will prevail within that. The problem is that a lot of people don't actually want that. A lot of people think they want that, but really they just want to be right, which means, they want to be right about their victim story, or they want to be right about you being a perpetrator or them being perpetrated upon, or whatever the pieces are. So this is the situation that's happening is global. It's not, of course we have our individual communities, but it's being spurred on. We're being manipulated by the powers that be, to buy into these pieces and drain our energy out and fight against each other. So it's worth it to stand up for the truth. It's worth it to work it out with your neighbor. It's worth it to work it out with the people who are in your immediate community, because those are your people. That's your community. And to say that, you're not, though we go to the same, we're in the same community, you're not actually my community because you're from a different culture or different race, that is the exact program that needs to get cleaned up and recognize that we are very different. It's because of that our unity is that much sweeter and richer. Our human spirit shines through the diversity, and we truly appreciate the differences that each of us bring, and that because we are different, we want you to bring that. You see what I mean? This is the true thirst of human nature. That's that next layer of we'll say cosmic consciousness getting expressed within us, that kind of unity. So what's happening is that humans are taught that unity is really when everybody thinks the same. Unity is when everybody is in agreement. Unity is when, it's pretty much being homogenized, right? That's when we have peace finally, right? Because now we can all unify and agree and harmonize. And that's not unity, okay? That's control. That's power over dynamics, because now the individual expression of each person's culture isn't considered important. If anything, they're just waiting for it to get watered down. And in that, we lose so much wisdom, so much knowledge of our ancestors by allowing ourselves to become homogenized. And this is part of the Western thirst, the Western sickness, is that we have no history, well, other than the history of being an oppressor-perpetrator via the story of, genocide and invasion and war and, everything that we've done to the indigenous, all that stuff. But we come from a culture that was lost. So when we come across other cultures that have a rich and diverse connection to their history, it's like we want that. We want that. We thirst for it. We want to have that kind of depth of connection. And it's because we ourselves and our culture have lost that due to this homogenization. And this is why so many Westerners are just completely sucked in by materialism. It's like we just get distracted by the newest and brightest and the nicest and the most sleek and all that stuff. And it's a symptom of our illness as a Western culture. And not just white people are like this. Everybody who has been homogenized has this. And you guys know exactly what I mean by that. All right. So let me get to some of the specifics that were brought up here. There were so many really great questions. I ended up copying and pasting them all so I can just go through them and fine tune my feedback. Okay, so the first one was from Yona. This is from actually a few weeks ago. I wanted to talk about, but then there was a lot of topics that got put in there that were that were really good, and then I lost this and I couldn't find it again. So it resurfaced, so I'm going to go ahead and read it. And she says, what's up for me is standing in truth. Does this require action, or is doing the inner work enough? Thinking a lot about Gandhi and Jesus versus being a crusader. All positions are fine, but for me, asking myself, what am I defending? When does aligned action make sense? Or is it irrelevant as when we clear our fields, we are taking action that ripples out? So the first thing is, the more we clear our energy, that absolutely has a ripple effect on everybody. So the more we make peace within ourselves, that has a ripple effect. Now, the journey to making peace, though, is very interesting, because we need to, be able to go deep within ourselves with honesty, not what we think is right or wrong, but truly go within ourselves with honesty and find out how we truly feel about something. Okay, there's lots of times people have feelings that we make wrong, therefore we can never truly have them, and because of that we are stuck in a looping experience, the same thing over and over again. And that's because there's something where we can't get past our own block around feeling something. Okay, so example, like, sometimes things happen and we have a lot of anger, like in our upbringing. There's a program that we're in our upbringing. We have a lot of suppressed anger, and then we start going inside in ourselves, and that anger comes up, and then we're like, oh, that's not me. That's not me. I'm not angry. I don't hate anybody. But really, because this energy has been locked in place and held and captured, it builds up until it becomes like this explosive volcano, and it's terrifying for us to touch it with our awareness because it's that volatile. But if we can pop the cork on something like that and just let ourselves be angry, don't worry about the story of why or who's to blame or anything like that, because that's a victim story. Just let your pure emotion be there, and you'll know it's pure, because as you're feeling it, it's moving through, it's going to change. That anger maybe will turn into remorse. And then once you really get to the bottom of what is behind all that stuck emotion, this is where the dawning light of you shows itself. You all of a sudden see and accept everything on a different level, and you have compassion for everybody involved. You have compassion for yourself because you didn't know. You have compassion for, say if it's a childhood thing, for your parents because they didn't know. They were just doing what they were taught. You know what I mean? It's like all of a sudden that intense emotional energy moves, and these stories that we have are gone. They're not relevant anymore. What's most relevant in our awareness is our love, the truth of who we are, and then we share that, and then that is authentic moving through something, and that kind of ripple effect will heal everybody. It will heal people in your immediate circle, but it'll also help heal your parents and your children and your grandchildren. That's the kind of healing that goes through generations. So you decide for you what is appropriate. Like I said, and as long as you're really honestly reflecting on these three angles here in relationship to the action you want to take, then you'll be all that much better, all that much more aware not to step into the disempowerment game and lose your energy, and then wish you never did, and wish you didn't say anything, because I know that happens with a lot of us too. So action is required in certain circumstances, and some of it is ours, some of it's not. That's where this will help create clarity. If you're really angry, that doesn't necessarily means what's going on is wrong. Sometimes that anger is there so you can learn to have a different relationship with. You can actually have a relationship with anger where it actually gives you the strength and the energy to take the action that you need to take. So we're taught backwards how to relate to ourselves. We're taught that we're sinners, or we're taught that we're a cancer on the earth. We're taught that our emotions are wrong or out of control or blah 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 blah. All of that is bullshit. I'm just telling you straight up. It's all bullshit. It's those are disempowerment games, implanted in us to keep us stifled, keep us held back, so we don't actually live in our fullness in the moment. Because when you're in the moment, you are full. There's no regrets, there's no shame, there's no, it's like you're in that moment. It's an amazing moment after moment. Okay, hopefully that was clear. Next was dear sister Lisa Marie. Oh, she asked me to review the playing out of the archetypes of the disempowerment triangle. Also, wanting to fix others is actually denying them their humanity. Yeah, so that's that savior. When you come in as savior, and a lot of times we do this because we feel like the person needs help because they can't save themselves. And this has been a topic in the academy too. Where's the line? And the line for me is when you know that person wants to save themselves, they just need a leg up. They just need a helping hand. They just need a little bit of help here, or and some encouragement there, or some kind of connection, or to be seen, or they just need this piece that I know I can help, I know I can offer them. And then once they get that piece, they launch into helping themselves. That's because they're ready and they want it and they're going to do it, and they're nobody's victim. They are owning and taking responsibility, and I'm helping empower them doing that. Okay, so to me, that's what it looks like to help in a healthy way. The needy and the greedy, because the needy and greedy kind of go together. That's really tricky, because there's a lot of times we help out the needy greedy because we feel like a bad person not helping out. See, that's a disempowerment game. So there's something like that. Oh, and actually this is the next one. Dear Sister Yona says, this week I've been dealing with boundaries. How to have compassion and understanding and still keep good boundaries. For instance, when you want to be helpful to someone, but it means stepping away from caring for myself. Yeah, so when you have to choose your wellness over another person's wellness, they are steeped in the victim game, and chances are they don't want out of it. So what happens is that needy greedy thing starts to come out. And what you can do is energetically be aware of what's going on, where you're draining energy, where you're holding back and not showing up as your true authentic self. Okay, and sometimes it could be as simple as being honest. There's a comment here about the person's an unpleasant, grumpy person. You can simply say straight up that you're a very sensitive person, and they're griping about everything makes it difficult for you to be around them. You can say it like that. Just be honest, and it might make them mad, but you are being in your authentic transparency, and they might decide that they don't want you to help them, and now you're off the hook completely, right? So, and sure, they're a victim. They'll probably spin a story about that being your victim, but you standing up for yourself and being truthful is what's important here. They may spin the story, but you know what the truth is. Now, a lot of us, especially women, are trained that our worth is determined by others. Like it's how others see us determines our worth as a female, as a woman, as a mother, as a daughter, as a sister, So there's some added complications in that, because the family dynamic is geared towards leveraging that against us when we're trying to wake up out of it, So there's some complexities with that for sure. That honesty with how you feel thing, though, just be honest. And if they don't like your honesty, they're not going to want you around, and that might hurt our feelings. Might hurt your feelings, but you're also off the hook of being obligated to them to help them out. Because we want our fellow humans to be well. We want our fellow humans to thrive. Okay, we want our fellow humans to not be in a place of suffering. So it's especially as an empath, and as a sensitive, intuitive being, we can feel that interconnectedness. That's a real reality for us. So to know that there's some that suffer, we don't want that, but we don't, in that savior mentality, we don't recognize that there's something else playing out that we're not aware of. That person is playing out a drama that we're not aware of. And it could be likely none of our business, All right, next is Melissa. She says, what are some ways to help young ones deal with their strong emotions? They have been They have been through a lot this year and last year, and are going through some growing pains as us adults currently, but don't necessarily have the life experiences or coping skills to deal with all these intense changes. Yeah, that's a big one. So again, honesty, transparency, especially with your kids, that's the best way to help them. You can say, yeah, you know what, I'm pissed too. Yeah, you know, I feel like this is unfair too, or this gives me anxiety too. I mean, you let them see you and your experience, because we think that kids, you know, they do as I say, not as I do, right? That's kind of the program that we've given our kids, or that's one that we've been given, and maybe we've perpetuated it forward, maybe not. Most of us do without realizing it. So being honest and transparent and letting them see how you are dealing with it is very helpful for them. And it's not you telling them how you should deal with it or telling them anything. It's just them in that pure observation of you. And you are being honest and transparent with what's going on with you. Kids crave that, they love that, and that will impact them more than your words ever will. So there's that kind of thing. And the other thing is help them make friends with their emotions. They're really strong emotions. Say they're really pent up and anxious and angry. You know, go get a piñata and beat the crap out of it, just to get it out. You know, like show them some kind of outlet that they can utilize to spend the energy, so that it's not pent up inside and manifesting in a internalized negative way, or a way that's going to harm them or someone else. It's like, you know, be the example, and go and blow off steam with them, like that. Kids, even teenagers, because we think our teenagers want nothing to do with us. Well, that's kind of true, right? But when it's intense stuff like this, a lot of times they will really appreciate. They might fight us tooth and nail doing it, but in the moment of it, and later on, they will appreciate us spending that time with them and making the effort to work this out. And they also will learn that it's really important. How they feel is important, and how they feel matters. It matters to you, but it also matters to how they live their life, you know. So there's a really huge growing opportunity with that. All right, then we have Fiona, dear sister Fiona. She says, I'm interested in learning more about the term ego driver. I have heard it used a bit lately, but I don't feel that I have a grasp of the fullness of the meaning. Okay, so ego driver. So ego, that's the sense of who you think you are. And that's also the id in psychology, the part of you that's self-preserving, the part of you that is self-absorbed, self-observing, that preserving, that kind of thing. So all of your fears and limitations within your psyche, that's all part of your ego. Now, in a lot of spiritual traditions, they make ego the enemy. And I don't resonate with that at all, because that ego is necessary for us to have this individuated experience. This is my perception of it. So it's less about making the ego the enemy and more about training your ego to be in alignment and harmony with the truth of who you are. A lot of us have cultivated an ego driver, an ego, the one that makes decisions and observes in our life, stuff like this. That's why I call it an ego driver. A lot of our egos are cultivated to be against our truth, to make us wrong, to, you know, diminish us, ourselves, our inner voices. This is why a lot of intuitives and a lot of people aren't in touch with their intuitive gifts, because their ego driver is so strong. That's how they live their life through, and that's all that really has their attention. But as soon as you teach them a little bit of a silence, or a little bit a way to step back and relax that ego driver so another part of them can be present, they instantly wake up to stuff like that. They actually do have gifts, that they actually do have intuitive knowing, stuff like this. So that ego driver is, you know, the part of you that engages in this world and makes decisions, has conversations, treats people certain ways, you know, and engages in the world. But it's actually not the one that's in charge. It is simply the backseat the passenger in the car. Your soul is the one in charge, because remember, these outer nesting dolls here existed long before this inner nesting doll. So it's your ego driver that is the petty tyrant. It thinks it's in charge, but it's actually the one in the passenger seat. So the more we pare away and unravel the blind spots that our ego driver has to the truth of who we are, then the more aligned that ego driver becomes, and it starts accepting and even enjoying being in the passenger seat and letting your soul, your spirit, be the main driver of your experience. Because all these things that are unfolding before us from our unconscious, subconscious mind is the stuff in those outer nesting dolls, those outer nesting dolls of dream time, and that those organizing forces existed first. So they are like the foundation of these experiences that we're having. Hopefully that's a little helpful. Dear Sister Carrie says, I'm interested in learning how to heal in our dream time states. Yeah, that's a big one. That is a big one. So those outer nesting dolls that I talk about, these guys. So most people in their dream time, especially when they're really interested in analyzing dreams, most of them never get past this canopy. But dream time is every human has this ability. Dream time is our ability to go past this field of personality and belief systems and polarity, right? And start swimming in these upper realms. And these upper realms are the realms of our ancestors. It's the realms of the star people. It's the realms of the all that is. It's the soul's journey. It's all those outer nesting dolls of existence that is alive inside of us, and it's organizing our moment-to-moment experience. So dream time is our doorway into that. So the way we do it is through witness and listening and sharing. And by doing that, these other fields become open, and they have a more volume in our awareness because we have multiple people observing on those levels. So there's people that are holding space for you as you share your dream time, and as that dream share opens up the fields more and more and more instantly, or sometimes not instantly, depends on how much emotional charge there is. You can start touching these deeply sourced transmissions from your inner being that are coming to you, light codements, deep transmissions that provide epiphanies, understanding, healing, forgiving, compassion, stuff like this. And you quite literally transform like who you are and how you listen and how you approach the waking world by practicing in this dreamtime stuff like that. So it takes a community. It does. In the old days, that wasn't possible, but the way it is now, it's definitely possible, and that's actually absolutely necessary. All right, dear Sister Kelly from Sasquatch Messages for Humanity. She's asked about unconditional acceptance. Okay, so this is important, and unconditional acceptance is a way that we can intuitively observe and transcend blind spots. Like I was mentioning, so you're observing a particular energy that you already have a relationship with, or maybe you heard a story from another person about that energy, and now you're going to relate those stories and those understandings to the energy you're experiencing. So what you're doing is you're defining it and putting it in a box, and because of the narrowness of your perception, you're not going to be able to see anything that doesn't fit within that box of understanding that you think the energy is. An example could be of maybe archangels, or maybe even a being like Lucifer, or a being like a reptilian, or some sort of ET that you think that you heard a lot of stories that are really nasty guys. So acceptance is actually seeing that energy, being with that energy, and stepping past that 4D blindness of judgment, of fear, of disempowerment. Okay, you're stepping past all those knee-jerk reactions that you have to that energy, and instead you allow yourself to accept that energy as it is. I accept you as you are. And when you can accept, when your emotional, mental, when your energetic engagement with that energy comes into a place of acceptance, then there's no making it wrong. There's no putting it out of place. There's no judging. It's just allowing it to be so. And a lot of times, most of the time, when you're in that place of allowing it to be so, that box that you are perceiving it as starts to melt away, and you start to see a bigger picture. And as that bigger picture reveals to you, so does this well of compassion this starts becoming bigger inside of you, and all of a sudden you'll find yourself in a compassionate space for that energy that was completely, not possible before when you were in this box. Like let's say with the battle worn reptilians, that we have the narrative of taking over this planet and all that. When you engaged in that, there's a specific, and that box is there because of the emotional charge, okay, because of the anger, because of the frustration, the regret, you know what I mean? All that energy is busy going, and if you can just let it be there and let it move through you, and as it's moving through you, you are allowing yourself to accept this energy as it is, and then you work through all that emotion happening, and when you'll know when the bigger acceptance steps in, because all of a sudden you're at peace with this energy in existence. You're at peace that it is so. And from that place, compassion can now come into the picture, and you can actually liberate that being from being that perpetrator, or liberate yourself from, or humanity from being the victim. Okay? So unconditional acceptance is a spiritual superpower that we all have. It's just the blindness of our belief systems and the stories that we're told are so strong, and there's a lot of emotional charge, and that's the whole point of these stories, is to keep us trapped in our emotional charge so we can't see the bigger picture of who we are and who this other energy is as well. All right, and this ties in, what I'm saying ties in with Jillian's question, how or why being dualistic at war with one another on Earth benefits a race of beings? Well, ultimately, it doesn't. They think it does because we're all in this game. We're all in the blindness right here. Ultimately, because of that outer nesting dolls, we are all one together in nature. We are all, what happens to one happens to the other. One person heals, that ripple effects and helps other people heal. One person or one planet or one race of beings experiences great drama, and that has a ripple effect and affects all beings that share that reality, share that field. So no one wins. People, because of their blindness, this includes ETs and interdimensional beings, because of their blindness of who they think they are and their purpose, they think they're winning, but they don't actually see that they're gnawing off their own foot. They're biting their own hand. So the games here are big. They're big games. And they're on every side of the fence. It's one narrative is right and the other narrative is wrong is not a way to approach it, because you're going to get trapped. You're going to get hooked in by the emotional charge of these stories. Instead, come to every single one of those stories, no matter who it's coming from, as what program do they want us to have now? Look at it like that. That's really great advice. That's something that Barbara Handclough said in that narrative, in that interview. It's like, if you're going to watch media, if you're going to watch YouTube or conspiracy channels or whatever, look at it as, what's the program they want me to have now? And that way you can not be invested in the story, and you can let yourself pop out of this polarized narrative and see a bigger picture. And that way you're more in acceptance to what is, and you're not trapped by it emotionally, mentally. Okay, you're actually you're engaged, but you're not attached. All right, let's see here. All right, we have dear sister Lavana is talking about manipulation through intimidation, manipulation through weakness. I remind myself to watch out for these. Yeah, that's a big thing. Intimidation, weakness, but also the collectives. Like, why aren't you doing this? Can't you see that everybody else is doing it? Right? They use that kind of pressure. So, but this is the thing. You can say, yeah, I see everybody else doing it, and I see everybody else in a blindness program. Okay? Just say it like that. If they know what you're talking about, that might turn into a fruitful conversation. If they don't, they're just going to think you're crazy and move on. You know what? Go ahead, move on. This is not a conversation that I'm interested in having, because I want to keep it real. I want to keep it truthful. So we, each other in this group, really help each other out, because we can see the similarities in the narratives. We're not trapped by I'm right and you're wrong. We can allow other people to have their experience and listen to that experience and let it be different from ours. This is why our particular community is really special, is that it's not about the right wrong game. It's about together we are a we. And in that we're very diverse, and because of that, we have we have much more a broader sphere of acceptance for each other and for ourselves, and there's a lot more freedom afforded in our connection with each other. That's something that's very rare these days. I think it's going to become more common as we wake up out of these challenges. But these challenges are like this because it has to be. The entire planet has to wake up. It's not just certain pockets of people waking up. It has to be everybody. So everybody, of course, is so perfect that this situation is affecting everybody, the entire planet. And this is the way it has to be. And it's going to get ugly until people wake up. The more we stand in our truth and just not acquiesce and say no, and then the more we do that in number, the quicker this is all gonna fall away. It's just that people are scared to stand up for what's right. They much rather go with what's convenient than what's real, what's true. And that is going to lead them down a very dark road. I have a feeling that most of humanity is going to choose that until that road gets too dark, and then they're going to wake up. Okay? So we can have compassion for that because we understand what it is to be frightened. We understand what it is to lose everything. A lot of us here in this community have faced diagnoses of terminal illnesses, or we've had our life end more than once. Maybe we've hit rock bottom more than once. It's like we know what the deep down dark night of the soul is, and we can have compassion for that. Because we understand the value of it. It will help people in the long run. It'll be awful to watch it happen because it's never fun to watch a train wreck. But if a train wreck is what has to happen in order for the larger community to wake up, then so be it. It has to happen. We can give our signs, hold our fingers up. We can do whatever we want to try to wake people up. But if that is what has to happen, that's what's going to happen. And there's nothing we can do about it other than have compassion for the whole situation. And when people are ready to wake up and help themselves, we will help them help themselves. Yeah? All right. Thank you, darlings. Love you all. Mwah, mwah, mwah. I really appreciate being able to speak with you guys on these topics. Thank you, everybody, who contributed to the conversation. If you guys are interested in diving into the Dreamtime work, I encourage you to check out lightbodyacademy.com. We have something called the Dreamtime Healing Project, which is a beautiful body of work that unfolds over 6 months. And it's transformative. Some people get it right away. Some people need to ease into it. It really depends on how you are and all that. But it's a beautiful community of people who really hold sacred space for each other unconditionally. And that's a very very healing kind of community to be in if that's not something you've experienced before. So I encourage you guys to check that out, the Dreamtime Healing Project, and that's at lightbodyacademy.com. All right, ladies and gents, I am out of here. We are leaving Salt Lake and going to our next destination. So we'll see you guys next week. Mwah, mwah. Bye-bye.